intro. I love that. Thank you so much, Robbie, for making that. You did an awesome job there. But
Thanks,
hello,
buddy.
everyone. I'm Gregory. Welcome to the You're Too Valuable podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about quiet quitting, whether it's lazy or strategic. What do you guys think? Do you think we're going to talk about that enough today?
It's going to be a great episode. One of the points that I'm going to be talking about is about it's a resistance, not a retreat. So come on
What
in
is
and
that?
listen.
You're going to have to explain that sometime today because I have no idea what you're talking about there.
You guys know my brash ass. I'm going to talk about how baby boomers call it half-assing it at work. So,
I think just like we did last time, we're going to have to watch the language. And
HR.
thank you. And
Okay.
we have to watch out about that because that's just too much. Oh boy,
I love that.
Anyways,
I love it when HR tells me to watch out.
HR is good about that. I had to do that quite a bit, and yeah, we're just going to continue on there. We're definitely not going to go there.
That'll be another topic.
Yeah, that's definitely another topic. So, can you guys tell me what do you think, or what the heck is quiet quitting?
So, I mean, most people would give you the definition that people doing the bare minimum at their work, only what their job description entails, nothing above and beyond, because that's what their agreement to work was signed in their offer letter. So people coming
What did you just say about it was just a second ago again?
About what?
It was about halfway doing it? Or?
Half-assing it at work, and we're going to go into all those. Well, this episode's going to get me spiced up. I'm ready to go.
Already spiced up. We just barely began.
You know how I operate, Greg. You know how I roll. I'm fiery. I say the things everybody else is thinking.
I love it.
I do too. Well, I think definitely the quiet quitting is on the honest side. It is something that people do just to do the bare minimum to make sure that they're doing what they need to do and not doing more, not doing less. I don't know. We're going to get into, I don't think it's something that's a good thing or a bad thing. Actually, I think it's a great thing. All I know is I've seen it all over the place, and they're going away from quiet quitting to other things, but I still think quiet quitting is definitely something that's important out there.
Yeah, I think it's a topic that definitely needs some real conversation around. You know, obviously, being career professionals, working for corporate America, we've all seen both sides of the aisle on this topic. But I think having a real conversation and kind of breaking it down for what it is, why it's happening, and why employers might want to rethink their overall concept of what it is. So, obviously, like I mentioned earlier, there's a certain generation out there that likes to refer to this as half-assing it at work. And that's because they come from that old school mindset of put your head down, work hard, take extra hours. If you put the work in early, you'll be able to survive and thrive later on in life and go to college.
Or are they just being disrespected?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that generation grew up. That's what they were taught. And they don't understand that the goalposts have been moved a little bit when it comes to this very topic. And we're going to dive into all of that. And
well, what do you think, Jesse? What's going on? What are you thinking? That you're hospitality, so how's that play on your side?
Yeah, for me, it was respect. Came down to respect. I definitely get that point of being with the baby boomer generation, but I had plenty of employees in my career that I was able to get re-engaged. They had just fallen out of employee engagement, because they were working for someone that didn't quite respect them enough in my eyes. And once I put my arm around them and gave them that respect that they deserved, we had a great working relationship, and they grew as a person themselves.
Well, I don't know about y'all. I watch a lot of podcasts, or a lot of memes, a lot of stuff on like TikTok and Instagram. By the way, we are on TikTok and Instagram, so come and follow us and share on the screen. Thank you very much. Anyway, so I know, shameless plug, but hey, I can do it. It's our podcast. Anyway, so I watched a lot of people talking about it, and I think it's something that still needs discussing. And as something that I see, I notice that it affects everyone and the entire organization. And from that, I see it from people who are in talent acquisition to people who are managing and things like that. And so I think it's interesting.
Yeah, no, and we're gonna dive deep into this, but how I see it, just from my own professional lens, is people are tired of empty promises in the workplace, and people are tired of being told that if they work hard enough, they're going to be able to achieve X, Y, and Z. By this age, you should be doing this, and yada, yada, yada. And we've come to find out that that pathway to success had a few more detours than we had anticipated. And something that I want to, really harp on is, I think that if companies wanted more out of their employees, they should focus on rewriting those contractual contracts for employment, for those job offers. These are
Right.
things that the employee has been given a step-by-step responsibilities guide. So yeah, I see it from both perspectives, and that's
just
kind of
because
where
they have a
I
step by step
stand.
responsibilities. No. You have that last bullet that's just about on every job description that says other duties as assigned. So how do you put that in there?
And that's another topic as well, though. Having
I
that
mean,
clause.
I have I have one
Gotta
of the
have that
craziest personal.
nice clause in there.
Oh,
I
of
have one of
course.
I have one of the craziest personal experiences with quiet quitting, as a result of empty promises made in the workplace.
Oh, yeah,
and I
me
will
too.
tell you that I put my line in the sand and ultimately made the decision to walk away from a $200,000 a year job. It's something that I was
Hey, folks,
able to do.
is that craziness or is that being realistic? You decide.
Well, I
don't
mean,
know
I
how
look
I
at
could do that.
that corporate salary was basically the drugs of the drug dealer. They just kept you coming back for more and more and more, and I found less and less of my personal life being my personal life.
He's talking about drugs. You can't talk about that. This is not that type of podcast. We talk about quiet quitting.
Jesse,
Anyways, yeah.
back me up here. This is not the Disney Channel. This is You're Too
Nope.
Fucking Valuable.
That's right.
No,
that's
it's
right.
not. It's called You're Too Valuable.
I like it. I like it. The rebrand.
Needless
no,
to say,
no.
I think that there's a lot of good things that we're going to talk about, and I think that kind of set the stage and segued us to, talking about what the debate really is. Is it lazy? Is it strategic? Is it survival mode? For me, in my personal experience with corporate burnout, stemming directly from being overpromised and underdelivered, I've climbed the corporate ladder. I've moved my family across the country, sold everything, and started over loyally with companies to different territories where I knew no one. So I feel like I devoted a heavy level of love and appreciation for the company that I spent so long with, but ultimately the company and who becomes your leader are two very different things. And you go into a new role overly confident and super motivated to demonstrate you're the real deal. You go in there with that motivation because you have a lot to prove.
Yeah, you want to make sure that you show them that you're the real deal, like you just said, and that you actually
So-
can do that plus more.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I went in there and I was just trying to become the resource that everybody needed. I had a lot of knowledge. I had a lot of success. I came to the headquarters market and tried to establish myself in a very, very respectful way. And, to set the expectations to my supervisor that they could lean on me. And
And did you get
sure
that
did they,
promotion?
and sure did they lean on me.
Oh, of
We're
course.
gonna
Yeah.
go.
And any of that promotion or extra monies from there, or just more and more stuff that you had to do?
I mean, I felt like I was making more frequent trips to happy hour after work.
That's
So,
exactly what I was saying. That's what I was
needless
going
to
to talk
say,
about.
I feel like I developed a semi-drinking problem as a result of some of the stresses that I experienced and
And
some of
that's
the
what I was,
turmoil.
and that's what I was going to touch on was about that. It's a very different process when you both are making that much money as well. So it's like when you first started, it wasn't like that at first. Having to get respect and stuff like, you didn't talk to the big boss that too often as well.
Yeah.
So the progression of people's careers up the corporate ladder is
Yes.
just, it's crazy.
So, obviously in senior leadership, you're typically either reporting to like an assistant vice president or a vice president, and their scope of responsibility is rather small in comparison. They've got maybe 4 to 8 direct reports, whereas somebody right below them has a territory that they are responsible for communicating with employees. So your footprint becomes larger, your workload becomes bigger. Well, needless to say, I set that expectation. I made the promise that I'll do anything it takes to get to that director role that I'm looking for, and you can lean on me in any scenario. I'm going to bring a high level of energy, and we're going to put you in this role for X amount of time. We're going to see how things go, and then we'll reevaluate this in 30 days. 6.5 months later, I was still doing the same thing and on the verge of a mental breakdown. Because my territory was 2 for the price of 1. But I wasn't getting paid for the performance of that other team, despite always being available.
You're just being used. That's what it sounds like. At least that's what it sounds like from my end.
I'm going to tell you that level of just manipulation. It was almost like a toxic relationship. I don't know if either of you have ever been involved in a narcissistic relationship, but that's almost how it felt, from like coming out of the end okay, but you're having to like work yourself through it mentally. Like
I
the
feel
level
like
of
the bigger the company, the worse it is.
Yeah, no, I'm going to tell you, like, I certainly took advantage of my employee assistance program because the Mental Health Awareness Month created a mental health problem for me. Because
Hey, I'm
just like,
glad you actually took care of some of your, or utilized some of your benefits.
yeah,
Everybody, use your EAPs. That work too.
yeah. The HR says that. HR says that, so they check their "Don't sue us" checkbox. We appreciate we appreciate you, HR.
No. Well, Jesse, I'm kind of interested. You were talking about your experience. Do you have an example that you can give us? I mean, Robbie's is a little rough. I don't know if we can beat that.
Yeah, don't definitely. For me, it's sometimes comes in waves. My take on it as being a little bit of anti-authority, I guess you could say. If you're not respecting me as a employee, I've usually the people that are going to be managing me have been the ones that have interviewed me, and so it's like we already have sat down and had one, at least probably 2 conversations, most likely in person. For one of them, maybe over the web, but definitely just not over the phone. And we already have established a rapport, I feel like, and sure, it's new into the job and everything, but there's just a certain level of basic respect, I think, that comes to play in the workplace. And if I feel that I'm losing that from you, then I kind of don't want to do everything that you tell me what to do. You
Mr.
know?
Anti-Authority, buck the police.
So
Just joking.
yeah, I'm over here looking. I sound like you just want to be your own boss and to heck with
Oh,
everybody else.
oh
Is that what that
wow.
means?
Oh,
Is that what that
oh,
means?
that'd be
That's
wonderful.
what these ears hurt.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. So yeah, I've seen it on both sides, I feel like too, because I have worked over many employees who I know have quiet quitted because I see it in their job performance, which is one indicator for me. Engagement is the other. And I work with them. I put my arm around them and say, hey, ask them how they're doing, kind of get to know that person a little bit more
Mm.
better. And I feel like I've pulled people away from that quiet quitting and really been able to be something meaningful in their life rather than just an authoritarian boss, and um, make them feel valuable. Hey, because you're too
Hey,
Or,
because they
valuable.
are too
or,
valuable.
or because
But yeah,
they're,
I really.
because they're basically they have a fiduciary responsibility to their investors. That's for plain and simple what it is.
Yeah.
Employee engagement. Like you can be the best employee in the world and you can still be laid off for no reason just because the company saw cut opportunities. So
Yeah.
you have to understand that when people think about it from that perspective, like I see all my friends that have dedicated their lives to this company, and now they were just let go last week. I mean, that's not a
Hmm.
very motivating state of the world.
No.
So, especially with things the price the way that they are, just the level of anxiety thinking about being put in that position in the first place. Kind of going back to our topic from last week, talking about unemployment and that scenario. I think that it's something that is a real eye opener for the average worker. Like no matter how hard you work, it's never enough. And what really is essential work? It feels like everything that we were talked about the workplace was completely made to be false during the pandemic. All of the
Right.
most important jobs that require college degrees, everybody gets to stay at home. But the people that were essential, do you see where I'm going with this, Greg? So this is,
Well, yeah, I have to. So I have to go back to my story, and I want to talk about it because I have two different sides. I have to put on my HR hat, and then I have to take off my HR hat, and that's really difficult sometimes. I don't know if you've ever had somebody that's a friend of yours that's an HR person who does it. They have two hats, and it's really
Uh,
difficult
I've
because you
seen
you
both
look
of
at it.
them.
Yes, I know, Jeff. I'm sure both of y'all have seen both of them many different ways, and so if I'm putting on my HR hat and I try to get a little bit more serious whenever that happens because that's the side of me. It's my serious side. Is you're expected to do a job. You're expected to do a job for the amount of money that you agreed to,
Mhm.
and when that happens, sometimes there's extra stuff that you need to get done. And it's expected of you. It's expected that you're going to do your job, do it well,
Mhm.
and you're going to do it for the money that you were agreed to.
Yeah.
Now, we all know that we have to get extra stuff done. And just because you may not want to, it's necessary. And I don't think it's quiet quitting or necessary to quiet quit and just do the bare minimum and just being quote unquote lazy. I don't think
Yeah.
it's lazy.
I
Now,
don't either.
I, as a professional, I can see how it can be looked at as lazy and how it doesn't. I myself have had going get taken off my HR hat. I've had an instance where I felt like I was quite quitting because I stepped back, and I think Jesse just said about this before. I stepped back. I was like, okay, I'm only going to do the bare minimum, or as Robbie said earlier, being lazy, or he said something about baby boomers or something like that. I don't know. I wasn't listening to
Yeah.
him. That happens
Mhm.
quite a bit, and
Asshole.
so um yeah. Anyway, so I I took back and I was like there, but like Jesse said, he went and he talked to his people, kind of got them refocused and reintegrated back into the company. I don't know if that's possible for everybody because it's too much, and
Yeah.
sometimes you just have to step back.
Well, before we move on, Greg, I want you to know you and I started out in a cell phone store together 19
Oh
years
boy,
ago,
Woo!
and we were definitely a
Good
lot more
times,
unfiltered,
good
a
times.
lot more unfiltered back then. But you went the HR route, and you're still the only HR guy that I fucking like. So I hope that means
Am I
something
supposed
for
to?
this.
Is that supposed to be a good thing or sad?
Yeah, yeah. Hey, listen. I think you're a cool guy. Despite you going down the HR path, I know your intentions are good. You just, when you give that HR answer, you make my eyes roll in the back of my brain, and it makes them hard to get out of the back of my head. So,
Hey,
Thanks,
I
Tim.
think for Jesse too, because Jesse,
No,
I mean,
no.
I
No,
can
no.
see him rolling his eyes over there sometimes when I'm talking and saying things. It's so funny.
yeah, exactly. But let's talk
That's
about.
okay. I still come back to you for help.
Yeah, no,
Yes, you still do.
I think that's a lot of good stuff to really hone in on. I want to ask you guys, have you ever been in a position, because I think that quiet quitting in today's work environments is a means not to burn out, because I feel like we all go to work to pay our bills. Right now, it feels like as Americans, we're all working twice as hard for the money to not work the same way that it did, 5, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to get at is people were sold on the idea that if they put their head down, they put the work in, they go above and beyond. That's the mindset that I was referencing, going back to the baby boomer generation. I'm going to tell you, one of the things that I took a lot of pride in my early work days, Greg, even working with you, that was one of my very first retail jobs. But I always took a lot of pride in putting my head down and being the hardest worker on the floor, or trying my best to be that individual, because I knew that the results would come, and it worked great.
Maybe. Well, for you, it worked great. For somebody like me who is very loud and very opinionated,
Hmm.
I think I worked hard. Maybe not at that job that you and I both worked at. I
Yeah.
wasn't the best at that time, but when I worked there,
Neither was I.
I
I was 19.
I was yeah. I don't even remember how old I was, but I was too old,
Grandpa.
Older.
young. Maybe I know I'm grandpa now. No. Anyways, but I worked really hard, and I still did where I was going. And yes, going to the burnout, you felt that if you didn't almost burn yourself out, and you were being lazy, and
Hmm.
that was the point. Is that
Hmm.
you worked your butt off
Hmm.
until you were basically on the floor.
Hmm.
You were exhausted. And Robbie, you were
Yeah.
talking about earlier that it happened where it was almost the point where you were going through mental illness, which is
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah. No, and it happens all the time. And people really struggle trying to find that balance, especially when a lot of people are working their asses off just to make it, and are in the belief that this isn't the way that life is meant to be lived. So they're kind of
Right.
just going through the motions like zombies, just trying to get through to pay their bills, just so they can keep going through the cycle of living paycheck to paycheck. But this job is asking me to kick ass and take names and show my worth and my value. And I've been lied to before. I've been in narcissistic relationships where I was told that it was going to get better, and it didn't. I feel like that's every workplace I've ever been in.
It
So,
always gets better.
okay, yeah, with a happy hour at the end of the workday is when it gets better, Craig.
Right. Exactly.
So,
Then you have,
you know,
then you
I-
have to come back the next day for another whipping.
Greg, let's be honest. We became friends as a result of going to vent about the workplace nonsense we had to deal with over some drinks when we were younger.
Well, somebody had drinks.
Oh.
Somebody still doesn't drink, and so don't no no
uh,
yeah no. That's why
that is
Jesse was
not
always like,
true.
"Ooh,
Yeah.
okay."
I've
I
seen a
rarely
big
drink.
redneck martini in front of you before.
This is so much. I can't do this right now. Anyways, Jesse, what about you? Do you think it has to do with burnout or being lazy or what? Do you think it's what are you thinking about it?
No, there's lots of different ways. That's why this is such a big topic because there's a lot of different ways that it can come about that people can basically, for some reason, their performance has dropped off, and you can tell that. But corporations also need to step back as and take off their big, you know, high ladder position that they have and put back on their working hat and ask themselves questions and things that they're asking their employees to do in order to identify if things are healthy in the workplace. And I think engagement surveys are a big use. They're hard to do sometimes, but it's a piece that when I was working for a company was integral to me knowing anonymity, they could do it anonymous, what
They're
my
always
employees
anonymous.
thought about
All
me.
those employee surveys are always anonymous. You know that. I have to tell.
Mm-hmm.
They are anonymous.
I yeah.
Ooh, that sounded like a little bit of an evil laugh right there. Sorry.
Yeah,
We
no,
need to cut that out later. Cut that out later.
because Greg knows exactly why I was shitting right now. So we'll go ahead, Jesse. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but we were just gonna
No, that's okay.
not just glaze over that blatant lie HR was telling.
Exactly. Gotta keep them in check too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I believe, it's good that we're talking about all the different sides to it. Um and what do we do about it? It's um something that we have to be aware of. I guess we have to be checking in with ourselves, with our bosses, with our employees. Um, we have to have a good, healthy work environment that people are open to saying what's on their mind. And, you need to be checking in with especially your brand new employees without just giving them the title, hiring them, and letting them go out into your workplace and start doing things that you're not closely monitoring, or at least talking to them about and how they're carrying themselves throughout the workplace. It's easy to scan through a job description and go, yep, that sounds good to me. I'll take the job because I need a job right now to pay my bills. And I don't know about half of what is on that job
I think we've all
description,
done that.
and I get kind of woken up like, that's part of my job. You're right,
Yeah.
and I'll
Oh,
get that done right away.
Yeah, you missed the incentive program at the bottom of your offer letter. That was one medium pizza to share with the rest of your coworkers. It was like
pizza parties.
lick it and pass it. It's like Carlos Mencia said that one, or no, it was George Lopez.
No, that's when
The
that's
good
when you
old
get the
pizza
pizza,
parties.
and it comes in 8 slices normally, but at our pizza parties there's 16 slices and a whole
Oh
pizza,
boy, oh boy.
and you get 2 slices,
Yeah.
2 whole slices.
Ooh,
I would walk out.
But
I would walk out.
it's funny to me that you all think that it's all negative. I don't know if it's very negative. Yes, it can be very problematic when it comes to the actual company itself because, the company needs to get some additional help from their people that are there. And sometimes the money's not there to hire another person. And so it's strategic for
annual
for
budgets are set at the beginning of the fiscal year
yes,
for
Yeah.
hiring new talent that they could just pass on those increases in budget to give raises to the people that have demonstrated their loyalty for decades.
No,
At a
Yeah,
time.
but the budget,
not always.
yeah, but the
Budgets
budget quickly
change.
turns into a forecast, right? Budgets change into forecasts.
Thank
where,
you.
Oh, we're gonna have to remove that and move that money to somewhere else. So
Thank you. And see, that's the thing is it changes all the time. So that's why I'm saying you have to be able to be a little bit flexible about what you
Open-minded.
do. Oh yes, open mind. Oh
Yep.
no, I like flexible. Flexible is good.
What was that movie with Sandra Bullock that was like where she had the blindfold on? We need you to put
Oh
on your blindfold so you can't see the corporate demons, otherwise your eyes will bust out of your
no
head.
no no
I feel
no.
like that's this is the equivalent for me, Greg.
But when you have somebody who's quiet quitting, it's like, come on now. I know you can do a lot more. I know you can do better. What's going on? And is it always the money? Is it what? Who do you think is to blame here then?
The corporation, 100%, without question.
Oh,
Let's get into it. You wanna let's take the gloves off on this one, Greg. Let's
oh,
move on. Let's move on a little bit. But I think that we need to talk about who's to blame. Whether it's the company or the individuals. How was this culture created? You think it?
well, for me, okay, I'm going to take off my HR hat here, and I don't want to keep saying that because you're just going to have to go with me the way that I go. It comes from, you said baby boomers
Mhm.
and Gen Z, or sorry, not baby boomers,
Gen
but
X.
Gen X. Thank you. Is we were all not we. I'm not part of that group. I'm a millennial. Thank you. We were all told that you had to work really hard. You said that earlier today.
Mhm.
Robbie did, and so that's the individual. That's the person. That's the way you were grown up. And then
Mhm.
the corporations may or may not have taken advantage of that. And
Mhm.
so I think it's a little bit of both. I don't understand how you can just blame just the corporations and not the individual.
Yep. No,
Yeah,
and it really became a
but
practice of enhancing your career, making it a part of your plan on what you were going to do above and beyond the job title, just to demonstrate that you're the right person for the job. And I think that we were such. I used to really associate my work ethic to like Kobe Bryant, for example. People can always talk about like Michael Jordan may be better. Some people argue LeBron, but nobody can deny Kobe Bryant's work ethic from back in the day. The guy put the work in without question. And I used to take a lot of pride in the workplace having that mentality,
right.
only to realize that it was being taken advantage of. And when I started to experience things like burnout, then it almost became like the toxic, narcissistic relationship that I couldn't wait to get out of in some of those
So are
scenarios.
you telling me? Are you telling me that you're responsible for that then?
Yes, I
Yeah.
was
See, Jesse. I like Jesse smiling that one because he knew I was right.
Well, I'm not saying. I listen. I have no problem admitting when I'm wrong. What I'll say is this: I came from the upbringing that the hard work that you put in will dictate how successful you are, and I lived by that. I've got two fucking
Right.
master's
Me too.
degrees, Greg. I really put the work in.
Ooh, two. I've got one. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. But
You can have these fucking degrees, is what I'm trying to say.
I have
And
a spot on my
that's another
menu.
conversation with it.
And you can take that damn work ethic expectation and shove it where the sun don't shine. Is my best example of how I feel about this situation.
Well, Jesse, what do you think? Do you think it's the corporation or the individual? What's on your mind?
Yeah, I was getting there, and definitely, you know, you got to blame at the top. That's what they say, right? For me, that's always been, hey, who's at the top? Who's making the calls? Who's either out there or up in their corporate office sitting and stuff? But sometimes I would be exposed to crazy situations with uh corporate office culture when I did go to visit the corporate office in a position and see in front of me the leaders leading my company rushing into offices, slamming doors, and then yelling and screaming at each other about
Yeah.
something. So,
Yeah,
that
that's
that
just making sure that you're getting your point across.
but it was seeing them fighting in between each other in the corporate office. And that's when the environment at the corporate office for locations, if you're working in a job like that, if it isn't what they like to see at the locations as an environment, why the difference? It should be running similarly. I know it's different environments, but um, yeah. So
So do you think that the toxicity at the corporate level and the management level is what leads to like some of their employees quitting and quite quitting?
I actually
and
have a
now it's
perspective on this. I really do. But go ahead, Jesse. I'm sorry.
yeah, no, it's a part of it for sure. The you look up to the leaders of your company, they're in those positions to provide standards um and the way that they hold themselves, I feel, is affects the employees, which gets to your customers and your guests of corporations. So it's full circle for me.
Well, Robbie,
What I'll say,
what were you talking about? Yeah.
I really think that the culture has to be started from middle and senior level managers within companies. The people that report both to higher ups and have to face the front facing employees. I think that they are the ones that don't feed into the corporate rat race that their upper leadership is trying to dictate. I think that the important aspect here is to be a leader and to lead from the front and inspire people to be the best version of themselves and stop fucking lying to your people. What I mean by that is stop telling your people that if you put in this much work, you're going to get to a certain place by this point in your career. Stop setting false expectations, because that will mentally
Right.
drag somebody right through the river. I mean, it's you might as well just drown somebody at that point. Go ahead, Greg.
All right. So you're frustrating me here, because or you're both frustrating me, and I'm trying not to like let out my anger. It's also the employee. The employee is not putting in what they said that they wanted to, and
Mhm.
you have to be responsible and take ownership of what you're doing with your job and how you're doing it. And if you're just going to do the bare minimum and just come here for a paycheck,
Mhm.
you're not going to show off that you're capable of doing things that are more and above. You're not wanting to show off that you're actually wanting to go and do more and become that leader, or do what's necessary to become what you decide. And it just
This is why we
this
have
whole
HR.
concept of this whole concept of quiet quitting. Yes, it's a good thing, it's a bad thing, but it's still annoying to me, because it's just like, what are we going to do with it? And if you're not going to put forth that effort, there's no point to it.
I mean, you're not wrong. And this is what I have to say, Greg. With the heavy investment of, capital, capital gains companies investing in these corporations, trying to strip assets, and what I'll say is this: it's a real shit show. From the perspective of everyone in the workplace. You can see it. You can sense it. You can hear it. I mean, people sound like they go through the motions. People are just perfectly driving with their eyes open on their way home from work and accidentally getting in car accidents because they're just off in left field because they're burnt out. It's happening all over the place. I see it every single
Yep.
day. I have people come to me in my current business talking about, I am getting anxiety and PTSD thinking about going back into the workplace. I'm like, well, I don't do therapy. I'm not a licensed therapist, but I would highly recommend you go down that path, and then we can maybe pursue getting you into a position of being in the right mindset to go back into that
And
toxic environment.
And one thing I was going to touch on too was about, the best thing one of my bosses told me one time when I was trying to develop a person in their role was, Jesse, they maybe they're just meant to be that in that position their whole life. And maybe they just kick ass at that position and that's all they want to do, and they don't need to be necessarily highly developed into a higher position because they don't want that.
Hmm.
Then
And so go ahead, sorry.
don't go ahead.
And see, this is where you as an employee, and this is where I had to do this personally in my own life, is set those boundaries. Set that for yourself. And sometimes some employers are very against it. They don't want to deal with it. And they
Against
don't
it,
want to deal with that boundary.
sabotaging
Yeah.
if you're it's sabotaging
So
if you don't go along with it.
whatever. No, but you have to set up those boundaries. I'm a huge advocate of a work-life balance. And so I want to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success. And if you're not setting those boundaries up and you're not letting me know what's going on or letting us know, then what what do you expect from me? I think
Right.
you're
I
good.
thought I thought I thought we were gonna get a "what the fuck are we doing here" from Greg, but I
And
guess I was wrong.
No.
work life balance can be unemployed too.
Yes, and that's what I'm talking about. It's definitely on the
The
on the on the employee, but also it's on the management side. And this is me looking outside of it is as a manager, as somebody who wants to look at it, I have to know that my employees are people and they need to have they need to know that, but they also need to tell me what their limits are and what their boundaries are. And if you don't
right.
have that, I don't know what your boundaries are. I don't know if you're going to tell me no. I don't know if you're going to say this is too much for me, or I'm not talking about Robbie and saying, oh, I'm having this nervous breakdown, or you're driving me insane. I don't want that. I want you to just tell me what's going on,
Yeah.
what
So
your limits are.
let me ask you a question. Somebody comes to Greg HR and says, "I have a boundary that's being crossed by my upper level supervisor, my direct reporting supervisor or supervisor above that. That supervisor's well liked across the company, very well." Like the superstar, the guy that walks in the room, lights up the whole place like a Christmas tree. But he's got a problem with some of the words that he uses with the ladies behind closed doors, Greg. And one of those individuals comes to you and says, "I would like to
Sorry,
make
I'm
a
thirsty
complaint."
here. I can't answer this question.
Greg, I want to ask you, do you go into, "Oh, let me protect this employee" mode, or "Ooh, let me mitigate any risks for the company" mode? Help me understand which direction you go in HR.
Look, it's beautiful outside today, huh?
I,
What do you
I love
think?
that for us.
Yeah, I think it's been a beautiful day outside. Oh, we're not talking about outside. We're talking about quiet quitting. That's right. I have no idea. I wasn't listening to what you said again, Robbie.
Yep.
So,
That's
I mean,
that's how
pretty
it usually
common.
goes.
Pretty common.
That's how it usually goes.
I'm the loud guy that's going to be telling people to get off my lawn in like my mid 40s. So we're almost there.
Hey,
You're
I
not
tell
here.
people to get off my lawn when I had a lawn. I know we're kind of coming up on the time that we have here to talk about this today. But what do you think of and I'm interested to see what Jesse thinks about this, especially being in management. Is what do you think causes this? What do you think is making people become disengaged and want to quiet quit?
Yeah,
Greg, you
no,
you give us your
definitely.
perspective.
No,
Yeah,
no,
I
no,
was gonna
no. I
say
asked first.
I was
I
gonna say
asked
I've
first.
talked
I asked
No,
about
first.
no,
I've
we
talked
want
about
HR's
my
perspective so we can dissect this thing and put it through the garbage disposal. We're waiting.
No, 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 no. I asked first. I will say. Oh,
Can you handle the meat?
I
Can you handle the meat grinder, Greg? Let's
no,
go.
no. Okay. So sometimes you do get a little bit too much, and you go a little too hard, and you get pushed a little too hard. Yes, I will agree
Yeah.
with that. And that goes back to my conversation or what I said earlier, setting those boundaries and letting people know what your limits are. And so you can't continue to do that. You have to be able to make yourself known and make your limits known. I've had people that I've had to tell, you can tell your manager no. You can tell them, this is too much. You can tell your manager, hey, I can do that absolutely 100%, but this is going to fall off. That doesn't mean that you have to quit. Just
Right.
just make sure you let people know what's going on.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, to wrap it up for me, I think it's a lot of both. It's on the management style, it's on work, because yes, Robbie, I think you hit it. You hit something for me personally, is compensate your people, take care of your people, and I think they're going to do well for you. And a
Yeah.
lot of companies have gone away from that, and I think that's where the whole quiet quitting thing came from. Is you're just getting taken advantage of, and if you're going to
Yeah.
get taken advantage of, then yeah, you're going to be disengaged. You're going to quit. You're going to go
Yeah.
there,
I
and
actually want to
sometimes
add
it's
on to
just it's just go ahead.
what you're talking about right there, Greg. I as I moved up into higher levels of leadership in corporate, 20 companies, what I'll say is I started to notice that verbiages became different. When human resources referred to employees, they were referred to as quote unquote resources. And
Resource management.
we're going to talk about the level of humility and humanity that has been completely eroded in the workplace when it comes
Well,
to the working relationship between the company and its employee base.
yeah,
And I think that this is a direct reflection of companies doing their best to squeeze as much productivity out of the orange until the orange has no juice left. When I try to equate that, it comes down to this: people deserve to be treated like humans in the
yeah,
workplace, and when you invest in your people, the return on investment has historically and statistically always been in the positive. And we've gotten away from that. And we need to be better. And we need to have this conversation. There's a reason that people don't feel
Exactly.
motivated in the workplace anymore.
That's
This
the
is a
thing.
real issue that's so I'm going to tell you, Greg, I have one-on-ones with people where I'm like, dude, you all right? Like, you sure you're ready to get back to work? I have these conversations, Greg, all the time. Not just, I'm going to say more than 50% of the time right now. When I bring on somebody, they're getting anxiety, cold sweats thinking about going back into the workplace. That's telling in and of itself.
Exactly.
So, I understand your perspective, Greg. You're the one HR person that I'll tell you you're full of shit to your face, but still tell you I love you and I understand you where you're coming from. Needless to say,
just because I have brown eyes does not mean that I'm full of it.
Jesse, what's your perspective, dude? And then I'll close this out and prepare us for the following week.
Yeah, so on, that employee side, like definitely like we talked some of y'all talked about was know your limits. I've definitely wanted to positions. And if I didn't know my limit and then figured that out, and I thought I knew my limit and then figured out I didn't because I was trying to grow in my career, and that's what you have to do sometimes is you get hired into a promotion instead of being promoted, and that comes with a learning field. And so be open and honest. I think open honesty and trust on both ends, managers and employees. I've had employees I've told, and usually when have started in new jobs, as a general manager, I get my teams together and I say, hey, honesty is going to go a long way with how we work together. And if you're just feeling off and you don't want to come to work, don't tell me your grandma died. Because I know it's not true because you said that 3 weeks ago.
14
And
grandmas, 14
yeah,
grandmas
you
passed away.
know,
It's happened.
I I get it. I am human too. I put my pants on just like you do, and I was in your position at one time too. I think that's very healthy for any companies, for in some way or some point, the higher ups need to have been worked in those line level positions, whether it's for a stint or you did it for 12 years. I don't care. Um, there's just an overall work environment that the corporations need to have a handle on. And when things go awry, we need to sit down and talk about them because we're both adults. We have to give each other the respect that they deserve when things aren't going a certain way that the corporation thinks they need to be going in. The other thing that I want to talk about just briefly was seasonality, especially with restaurants and hotels. I mean, and the locations that the businesses are in, you have huge seasonality swings, and sometimes of the business, if you're looking for longevity in your companies, you're going to have to keep track on that because the burnout can get easier with volume. And that's to be said at any company.
That's an interesting take there.
Software companies, tech, every industry goes through a seasonality where people are just having to push on the grind, and then you get a bit of relief. Well, in those relief periods, as top leader managers, spend some time reaching out to your employees, and if you feel
Oh,
scheduling those
yes.
one-on-ones when you have a little bit breathability as well. And it really comes down to that manageability in your position.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this out. What I'd like to say, guys, is that I'm going to give some advice to all levels of manager out there. All leadership levels. Make sure you understand what the root cause of the disengagement in your workplace is. Mm-hmm. Address it for what it is. If you want to gain the respect of your people, be willing to have the tough conversations that are rooted in making a better workplace for everyone involved. Stop holding on to bad performers. It discourages the people that bust their ass every single day. Stop asking your top performers to make up the slack for low-performing employees. Those people need to go.
Yes.
They need to go.
Yes.
Stop preaching hustle while you're underpaying people. If your people are barely making, if your people are barely making it, stop preaching hustle culture, because all you're doing is creating a culture of eventual burnout. And when the whole team burns out and your production nosedives, guess who the scope goes to from upper leadership? You as the leader. If you burn your people out, it's on you. Culture starts at the top, folks, not in a Slack channel. You understand where I'm coming from?
Well, Robbie, I think
Teams
that's the best thing I've ever heard you say.
And you can drink on this meeting. Teams happy hour. Have you ever had those?
Oh no!
While we talk about mental health,
while
we talk about mental health awareness month, perfect. Guys, I've had a fucking blast today. I think that this is going to continue to get. It's going to get better and better. We're going to start ramping up, guys. If you're watching this, I highly encourage you visit our website. So the letter U, the letter R, the number 2, VAL. So Victor Alpha Lima.com. We'll post it at the end of this video. Go sign up to become a guest if you'd like to talk about any specific topics. We'd love to have guests from people that work in the workplace, whether you're a frontline employee, upper leader, whether you're a vice president, doesn't fucking matter. We want you on here. Sign up, go register. We'll talk to you, and we'll do our best to get you on here.
Yeah,
now,
make sure you share your stories too. I want to hear what those are.
Hell
I
yeah.
definitely want to hear those.
Hell yeah. So share your stories. What we're going to talk about is episode 3, promotion to misery. When you're climbing the corporate ladder becomes more about stress than success, and how to recognize when a promotion isn't fucking worth it. Let me tell you something, guys. This is a great segue. Today's topic was a great segue to promotion to misery, because people are constantly nudged to move into that next level, only to find out FML. Fuck my
Aren't we
life.
supposed to always be promotable? Don't they teach us that?
Oh boy. Okay, we're going to talk about that next time.
All right.
All right.
So,
Well, anyways, I wanted to tell everybody, remember, you are too valuable. You
Yes, you
are
are.
too valuable.
even if your boss doesn't think so.
That's
oh boy.
correct.
You're still too valuable. Anyway,
Bye,
signing
guys.
off now. See y'all later.
Hang
See
in
y'all.
there.